Welcome to the Women Leaders Association podcast, where we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. Be sure to tune in each week to hear an empowering message from the world's top women executives, trailblazers, entrepreneurs, and all-around fierce female leaders. I'm your host, Julianne Kirkland, and I will be taking you on a deep dive of each message to equip you with the principles, strategies, and tools you need to start crushing your goals, increasing your impact, creating work-life harmony, and did I mention have more fun? Because when you love what you do it better. The Women Leaders Association is the world's largest women executives association with over 30,000 women in executive and leadership positions who are committed to the development and advancement of women in the corporate arena. If you would like to get involved in a Women Leaders Association chapter, would enjoy daily podcasts, or you desire to become a part of the Women's Mastermind group near you, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com. Now let's tune in for this incredible message.
My name is Denee Choice. I'm a medical doctor. I was in clinical practice for about 20 years. I'm also a former healthcare senior executive, and I currently have my own coaching business. I do executive and life coaching for women physicians, for women leaders in healthcare, as well as in a lot of other industries. And I do a lot of work with burnout, work-life balance, as well as some leadership coaching. So all of these topics that we hit on today are just so pertinent to the lives of women leaders. So again, thank you. So one of the topics that comes up in my clients across all industries is gender bias. So the gap I'm referring to here is obviously the gender gap. Being a physician and working with a lot of women physician clients, I can assure you that even in medicine, where women make up nearly half of the workforce, and women have actually started to outnumber men coming out of medical schools, which is a great thing, by the way. But I can assure you that even in medicine, the gender gap is alive and well. And in fact, male doctors make $2 million more over the course of their careers than female doctors. And that's even after correcting for all variables, including specialty, work hours per week, years worked, experience, et cetera. So that's not insignificant. Again, I see it across all industries. So I'll go ahead and next. So I want to introduce you to this tool that I use with my clients to build mental fitness. And just as we need to train in specific ways to increase our physical fitness, we can train in other ways to increase our mental fitness. And this tool was actually developed by Positive Intelligence, which is abbreviated as PQ. And that's in reference to being our third form of intelligence. So we have IQ, which is cognitive intelligence. We have EQ, which is emotional intelligence. And then PQ is actually positive intelligence. And mental fitness is the path to developing positive intelligence. So what is mental fitness? Mental fitness is your capacity to respond to life's challenges with a positive rather than negative mindset. And the impact of developing higher levels of mental fitness is that it helps you to achieve peak performance. It helps you in your relationships, and it helps you with your peace of mind and emotional wellness. Mental fitness is an evidence-based tool, meaning that it's based on science and research, and it was created based on concepts from neuroscience, cognitive behavioral psychology, performance science, and positive psychology. And the tool is developed using factor analysis, which is a method of radical simplification, and it identifies the root cause of performance and wellness outcomes. So an example here is factor analysis of all the thousands of colors in the world comes down to only 3 colors, right? Red, blue, and yellow. So when they completed the factor analysis on the scientific evidence around these 4 disciplines, they found there were only 3 core muscles at the root of mental fitness. And those are referred to as the saboteur-interrupter, the SAGE, and self-command. And in defining these components, they found only 10 ways that all individuals self-sabotage our performance and our happiness, and 5 ways we can improve our performance and wellness or happiness. And so backing up to the 3 core muscles, We'll start by digging into the saboteurs. So the judge is the master saboteur. This is the saboteur that we all have, and it's the most prominent saboteur in all of us. So you're familiar with the term inner critic, which is one component of the judge. That's when we're judging ourselves. But the judge saboteur also causes us to judge others and our circumstances. And it's important to note that all negative thoughts and feelings are initially triggered by that judge saboteur, either judging ourselves, judging others, or judging our circumstances. And a good way to start to be on the lookout for the judge is when you find yourself saying should or shouldn't. I should have done this. I shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have talked to me like that. All of those, that's the judge. You're either judging yourself, judging others, or judging your circumstance. So the judge is not alone. The judge has 9 accomplice saboteurs. So the judge will trigger some negative thought or emotion and then bring in his accomplice saboteurs. Shouldn't say his or hers. And while we all have the judge, we all have different combinations of accomplice saboteurs. So we tend to have 2 or 3 top ones that come out frequently. And these are really wired in us at birth. So we're predisposed to developing certain behaviors and certain habits of the mind. And then it's further shaped and strengthened by our experiences in childhood, young adulthood, etc. And any mothers out there that have more than one child can attest to being able to recognize the inherent difference in the nature of their children that's noticeable really from birth. And each child has different strengths and challenges despite being raised in the same environment. So it's definitely we always talk about the nature versus nurture in a controversy. It's definitely nature. And then, of course, it's further formed by what we're exposed to. The accomplice saboteurs that we most commonly see in high achieving women are some combination of people pleasing, perfectionism, which is called the stickler here, and imposter syndrome, which comes from the judge. And I would say the other one, avoider, is a big one that shows up for a lot of individuals too, and that either shows up as procrastination or conflict avoidance. So what's important to understand is that saboteurs and sage live in different parts of our brain. So saboteurs are motivated by negative emotions, while sage is motivated by positive emotions. And saboteurs, they can actually help you generate success. They can help you generate success, but not happiness. Where sage, when you're acting from your sage brain, it helps you generate really your highest levels of success and sustained happiness. So negative emotions are helpful. They're helpful as a warning sign. Just like when you put your hand on a hot stove, you know immediately to take your hand off. But staying in negative emotions really interferes with our ability to see things clearly and respond in a way that serves us. And I'm sure you've all experienced this before, where you maybe get really angry and you just really stew in that anger when you feel wronged. And think about what that does to your day, right? I mean, you spend the whole day just angry and stressed and not focusing on what you really want to be focusing on. This often shows up as ruminating on past mistakes or spending time worrying about the future. So negative emotions are a warning signal, but not where you want to stay. And remember, negative emotions, anytime you have a negative emotion, it's a saboteur voice in your head. So we grow our saboteur interceptor muscles to interrupt this process. So just touch briefly on the sage muscle. The sage is like our inner wisdom, so opposite of our inner critic, and it's also our most authentic self. The sage doesn't rely solely on our cognitive intelligence or rational thought, but it also taps into our body and the intelligences that we associate with our heart and our gut gut feeling, right? Or you feel, we have all these phrases that refer to that, but that's real. So sage incorporates all of the intelligences in our body and in our brain. And sage lives in the area of the brain that's associated. Sage lives in the area of brain that's associated with positive emotion, with clear-headed focus, and big picture thinking. And the sage operates from what we call the sage perspective. So the sage perspective is the understanding that every outcome can be turned into a gift and opportunity. So I want to share a story with you that illustrates this sage perspective. So this is the stallion story. An old farmer lives on his farm with his teenage son. He also has a beautiful stallion that he lovingly cares for. The farmer enters his stallion into the annual county fair competition. His stallion wins first prize. The farmer's neighbors gather to congratulate him on his great win. He calmly says, "Who knows what is good and what is bad?" Puzzled by this reaction, the neighbors go away. The next week, some thieves who heard about the stallion's increased value steal the horse. When the neighbors come to commiserate with the farmer, they find him again very calm and gathered. He says, "Who knows what is good and what is bad?" Several days later, the spirited stallion escapes from the thieves and finds his way back to the farm, bringing with him a few wild mares he has befriended along the way. To his neighbors' excited rounds of congratulations, the old farmer once again says, "Who knows what is good and what is bad?" A few weeks later, the farmer's son is thrown off of one of these new mares as he's trying to break it in, and his leg is fractured. As the neighbors gather to commiserate with the old farmer, he once again reminds them, "Who knows what is good and what is bad?" The following week, the Imperial Armory marches through the village, conscripting all eligible young men for the war that has just broken out. The old farmer's son is spared due to his fractured leg. The neighbors no longer bother to come to the old farmer to congratulate him. By now, they know what his response will be. Who knows what is good and what is bad? So, which perspective is true? And the answer to that is whichever you believe becomes true. And this is the self-fulfilling prophecy, which is actually based on the neuroscience principle of cognitive bias. And that means we find evidence for what we believe and we discount any evidence to the contrary. And I think it was Henry Ford that had a famous quote that says, "If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." And that's the same principle. So the last muscle of mental fitness is self-command. And we train self-command, which is really our focus skills, by shifting all of our attention to a single physical sensation. So we're tuning into the non-thinking mind, and we refer to this practice as PQ reps. So a PQ rep, again, is very simple. It's shifting as much of your attention as you can to your body and any of your 5 physical senses for at least 10 seconds, which is about 3 breaths. And this activates the non-thinking mind. And that 10 seconds or 3 breaths, we count as 1 PQ rep. And so these reps activate and grow your self-command muscle, which helps you self-regulate your thoughts and feelings. And when you grow your self-command muscle, then this is combined with your PQ reps and mental reframing exercises. And this is what helps you intercept your saboteurs and activate your sage mind.
Okay, ladies, we are going to stop right there because it's just fire. It's blowing my mind. One of the things that I have always enjoyed learning about was our mind and how it works. And I love how Denee was talking about the 3 core muscles. Like, I'm looking at my notes right now because it was just so rich. The 3 core muscles of our mental fitness. And it's the saboteur muscle, the sage muscle, and the self-command muscle. And as she started talking through, the judge is the main way that we tend to sabotage ourselves, whether we are judging ourselves, which is our inner critic, or we are casting judgment on others or circumstances or what have you. And I sat there for a minute and I started to get really honest with myself. Like, man, I do that more than I care to admit. To be perfectly honest, I really do. And I started thinking about how many times a day or in a week I say, should. Oh, I should have done this. Oh, it should have been this way. Oh, he should have done this. Oh, she should have done this. It's like the more that I am involved with different groups of people, and especially if you watch TV, like you can get really shitty on watching TV, especially reality television. Like, we're not even going to go there. That's a whole episode in itself. But just the ability we have, that's not a good ability. It's just an ability we have to see other people and what they're going through and their circumstances and be like, oh, this is what you should do. How often are we able to look at ourselves and put that same perspective on ourselves? It's a lot harder because there's emotion involved, right? It's a much closer to home scenario. So we're a lot more cautious of what we should and should not be doing. The best example that I can think of as a parent, as a mom of 6, is being a mom. You get shitted on all the time. When I have quadruplets, and I was just always walking in the should, especially from other people. The judgment of, there's no way you can have these 4 babies, your 2 other kids, still be a good wife and still work your businesses, still be an owner of businesses, still lead people. There's no way. And the more and more I heard that, the more and more I started to believe it. I'm like, maybe me having faith in myself that I can actually do it, that I can find a way, maybe that's wrong. And I started to allow other people's inability to see my strength and what I am being called to do. I started listening to their doubts over my belief. And it didn't work out so well. I was miserable. Even when my doctor was telling me that I needed to reduce 4 babies down to 2, that there's no way, scientifically, statistically speaking, it's not possible. So reduce down to 2. And then when I went into preterm labor at 23 weeks pregnant, and I went down to a state-of-the-art hospital where they were able to care for me and 4 extremely premature babies if the occasion called for it. I met a doctor there who believed in me. It was like, oh yeah, no, we're going to do this. We're going to get you through to that vitality point, and we're going to deliver 4 healthy babies. And I was like, okay. Yeah. Like, then I was able to believe it. And I think as women, I was on a mastermind call yesterday with one of our Atlanta groups, and we started talking about how as women, we have all kind of grown up with this mean girl syndrome, I guess we could call it, where the relationships are almost surface level. And there's a lot of backstabbing and manipulating and all of that gross high school stuff that happens. And now as women, who maybe have teenagers of our own, are looking back and like, it was such a waste of energy. It's such a waste of time and energy. Man, if I could have that energy back, I could do some serious good in this world. But But it got me thinking a lot about what Dina was saying of that's that saboteur, and the sage muscle we have is that inner wisdom. That is our most authentic self. And that gave me so much joy and like encouragement hearing that, okay, that's our most authentic self. Because I think if our saboteur muscle happens to be larger, then we can tend to believe that that's just who we are, that that's really who we are. But the truth is, we just need to exercise our sage muscle more. And then she goes in and talks about how we're able to do that. And that's what that self-command muscle. And that is switching from this thinking and this emotion into our physical being, really grounding ourselves and getting back in touch with our physical responses, taking it out of the intellectual and emotional responses and getting back in touch with our physical responses. It changes those neural pathways. So if you're spiraling in this negative thought pattern, it's taking that 10 seconds, those 3 deep breaths, or really one long deep breath in and out for 10 seconds, and rubbing your fingertips together where you can feel the grooves from your fingerprints, and allowing yourself to come back to reality. What can I feel? What is real? What's happening right now? Because so much of our saboteur mind doesn't exist, right? We tend to start worrying and having anxiety, and all of our emotions start running high. And when emotions are high, intelligence is low. It's getting it back to that level state in which we can operate the best. And then from there, choosing to move forward in our sage muscle, which is our most authentic self. It's where we have positive emotion and that clear thinking. It's where our creativity and our big picture thinking exists. It's like, man, how much good could we do if we shifted on a more regular basis that saboteur muscle into the sage muscle? Like if we were that acutely aware, how much greater value would we be able to add back into this world? How much greater value will we be able to receive, because we're no longer coming from a place of judgment, but we're able to receive authenticity and have a level of compassion and empathy for others. Man, how amazing would that be? And I want to encourage you as you go throughout today to be aware. Just bring yourself to awareness of where your thoughts are. Think about what you are thinking about. It sounds so simple, but the simple things are often the hardest to actually put into practice, because we want to make it harder than it actually is, because we go into our saboteur mind. Like, it all makes sense. It makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Why we procrastinate, why we, do the shoulds, and why we tend to want to people please and have that perfectionism instead of just, man, I did great today. I moved the needle 1%. It's progress. Go me. You're not thinking about what somebody else did. You're not judging them for it. It makes me so sad when I am around other women who are judging other women for being, quote unquote, more successful. Oh, well, she just got it because blah, blah, blah. It really is a shame, because that's not living, my friend. You are missing out on so much joy in your own life like at the end of the day, who cares? Really, it affects you none. Whether she got something or she did something because of XYZ. So what? Your journey is not her journey. And the minute that you can like bring that back and start thinking forward positively, be like, you know what? Good for her. I'm going to focus on me and I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to achieve what I'm going to achieve. Because being stuck in that comparison mindset, that saboteur mindset, that will never, ever get you the positive life that you want. Ever. Not ever. And I think it's also important to understand that it's not a one-time switch and then you're done. It is something you have to be in practice of. And that's why they're referred to as muscles and mental fitness. Like you don't get to do one push-up and you have a six-pack. You don't get to eat one stalk of broccoli and lose 20 pounds. That's not how it works. You have to continuously build your muscles. And that's the same for your mental fitness. And the more that we can put this into practice, the better it will become. And we will start being able to live out of that sage muscle. And it would be our biggest muscle. We'll be like Arnold Schwarzenegger, big Arnold Schwarzenegger, not Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Muscle with our sage mind. And I want to encourage you today that as you're going through your day, just to come back into that awareness and to take those deep breaths and to feel your fingertips and then to choose your next thought because it can be a positive one. And I promise you, when you're choosing positive thoughts over negative thoughts, you will have a more positive life. I promise you, guaranteed. No questions asked. Done. That's how it goes. All right, my friends, that is all I have for you today. If you are looking to be a part of something bigger, to be a part of women who actually support each other, who actually empower and encourage each other, I want to invite you to become a part of the Women Leaders Association. Simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com and you can find a chapter near you and join up. And if you want to be a part of, our mastermind groups or anything like that, feel free to reach out. We are here to rise up as women leaders and change the world for the better. That's it, my friends. Have a good day. Bye for now.